Okay, we're live. We're live. That's good. Guess I can put this down here. Okay, good. All right, we're live. Oh, I didn't. Did I? I didn't do. Oh, I forgot to do that. Oh, all right. I gotta. Let me just move this 1 second, and then I guess I forgot to move my handle of my. What is it called? My uh. What is it called? It's my treadmill. I guess it's late. Let's see. So trying to get my. I have to move it out and then go like this. All right, I did it. I forgot my one handle. All right, then I move it back. My upper body exercise. Okay, hold on. All right, good. That's good. That should be good. All right, good. I did it. All right. So I guess I was. Well, let's see. Okay, that's bad when it does that. Let me see if I need to. Yeah, I guess it's got problems with if it's not close enough. Like I was closer when I started. And let's see if that makes a difference. Okay, that's better. All right, good evening. Good evening. All right, so I guess let's see, everything's live and everything's going. Oh, except for me in terms of my hey Google, turn on the treadmill. Thank you. All right, good. And then I go like that. All right, here I go. I'm walking. I did it. I started it. See, there it goes. Okay, now it's going. Okay, good. Thank you for your patience. All right, here I go. I'm set. All right, well, it's late and but I felt like okay, I've got to walk and I'm not doing it. And what did I do today? I guess I did get up relatively early, not too early, but for us it's been early. I guess Cougar has been sleeping in. I guess I have to stay close. It's having trouble focusing on me. Okay. Yeah, so it's not that. Hold on, if I come closer. Anyway, I guess he said that we needed a new um, camera in terms of focusing. It doesn't do a really good job of focusing. All right, well, I guess that's all I get, and I could do something about that. But anyway, um, okay, so I got up early and I did relatively for a retired person. And Cougar likes to sleep in because he's writing his book and he thinks about his book and things like that. So he has an excuse. I don't have an excuse. Um, all right, except it's fun to snuggle together. So we do that. Anyway, and then what was the other thing? Was uh um so I did get up to go to Michael's to get my containers. It's like a 16 package photo organizer, but I use it for my seeds. And then I put I labeling my seeds with the help of my helper Lisa helped me, and we working on excuse me getting let's see yeah getting labeled. So I labeled every one of my seeds, and so anyway, so that was that. So I got them all labeled. Now I have to get them in the ground, is what as they say. They don't do anything unless they're in the ground, or at least in a pot or something. So I'm getting there, and hopefully pretty soon. So that was what I did first thing, and then I organized my office, and I did pick some beautiful flowers from my garden. They are called bird of paradise. They're gorgeous. Bird of paradise. They're so beautiful. And we have a bunch of those growing in the front yard. So I the office looks better. And so I did work on that. And let's see what else. I guess that was it. And so then what did we do? Oh, I went down to see how Cougar was working on his plumbing of his sink, and I watched him do that and videotaped it for my son who working on plumbing. And so that was kind of fun to just see how plumbing comes together. And it's like 1.5 inch tubes, and then you cut it, and they're threaded, and you just have a plastic threading thing that goes over it, and you figure out all the J traps and all that for getting plumbing to work. Indoor plumbing is pretty amazing. All right, so let's see. It just seems like it's not very focused, or maybe I'm not very focused, but okay, well, whatever. Anyway, so then we had dinner late, and we have been doing that late. I don't know why it was late, but it was. And Cougar wasn't that hungry, and so, but we did watch some good videos. So the video we watched, well, the first one we watched was and what do we have for dinner? Okay, we had a shredded salad, red cabbage, green cabbage, carrots shredded, and then guacamole and some that I made, and then also some sauerkraut and these roasted vegetables that we roasted on the grill, and they were good. Potatoes, sweet potatoes, purple sweet potatoes that were really great, and carrots and onions, and that was that. And so I guess, and some cut up apples, and we had my kombucha that I make. So that was dinner, and then we were watching. I guess this first thing was about regenerative agriculture, and he was talking about how, just talking about the whole farming industry, and it was interesting, how farms are working and things like that. But then he was saying, they're not working, and because of our climate crisis, that the farms aren't working. Let's see, am I getting this? Yeah. So anyway, and then the farms, and people don't own their land. And that was one of the problems when you don't own your land, just like homeowners, the difference between homeowners and renters. So when you're renting the land, which many of the farmers at the farmers market, when I talk to them, they say they rent their 40 acres, they don't own it. And so, they're not putting in all the energy it takes to make it organic or whatever, to make it sustainable. So anyway, and just all the problems with the fertilizers and the fossil fuels, and how we don't have that. And so what did I read today? It was just, Donald Trump said that it's going to be a long war and long battle, with Iran. And so the prices of the barrel of oil went up to $120. And when he said that, so that's what's happening there. So it's not going away. And, one thing, it's like, okay, I'm okay with it not going away. I mean, with it going up the price, and it not being available, because we have to get off of it. And because then the next video we watched was Michael Snyder. Yeah, Michael Snyder on weather, and he did a really good job about the what is it called, the ENSO, or El Nino, Southern Oscillation. And what he was saying is that, and that's why I called this Get to the Lifeboat Village Life, because he was saying that the ENSO, he was showing us the chart of the ENSO. He had some really good charts from, I think it was from the National NOAA, National Oceanic, and NOAA is National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association. So so the chart was showing how the El Nino has really raised the temperature of the ocean. And so, and you just see it going up. And so every El Nino keeps building up and up and up. And now we are in a what do they call it? Well, we are in a marine heat wave. So we're in a marine heat wave to begin with, and now with the El Nino heating everything up even more, and Cougar says that it will go up to 2. I mean, we'll most probably be going up to 2 with this El Nino because we're already at 1.5. And then what it is it doesn't really come down, and you see it is like every bump of the El Nino throughout the history of the last 20 years or so that they were showing us, it's gone up. I mean, the ocean temperatures have just kept going up. It doesn't really go back down. And so so that's what the problem is we're going to have a really hot, he called it the well, it's a super El Nino, but now they're calling it gigantuan or something. What was it? Some with a G, I forgot the word. Anyway, very large El Nino, because it's going to go up to 2.5, and that's like the highest. And it's, what's that G word with the, that means very large. Anyway, so it's going to be a very large El Nino is what it's looking like. And so anyway, and then what did he say too? Michael Snyder said that the El Ninos, the last one in 2023, or really the Northwest did not have a snowpack. It didn't have a snowpack. So, and then I was like, oh, so I went in to talk to Cougar about that, because it was like, okay, well, in California is not going to have a snowpack, and that's what's going to happen with the with this El Nino. And so he said that there won't be a Pacific Northwest won't have a snowpack, and then I was thinking about Colorado, and that they haven't had a snowpack, and then the Colorado River, and what's going to happen with that is that it's already very low, and we're losing electricity generation and also water for the Pacific, the Southwest. It's the Southwest, and that's what we were talking about, was that the Southwest was built with human hubris, the hubris, which means like full of yourself. Hubris is thinking we could do that we took the desert and we said we could make it full of water, and we dammed up, what was it, Hoover Dam to begin with, and then we dammed up, well, that was Lake Mead, and then we created Lake Mead from Hoover Dam in the lower Colorado River, and then we went up further, and we did it in the Glen Canyon, and we created Lake Powell. It was pretty good. So yeah, so for an Easterner, that's pretty good that I know my Western, because I grew up in New York, so I'm doing pretty good with my California history and my California geography. So, or the Southwest geography and all this. So basically, yeah, I guess the benefits of having a biologist husband. And so anyway, and what was the other thing? And a master's. I mean, I've been studying, for a long time too, since I've been out in California. Got a master's. Would I get my bachelor's in radio, television, film, and my master's in mass communication. So, and you study about geography and all that. So I have been studying about it as well. So anyway, what was it? Right. So then we dammed up the Colorado River, which is so sad. And that was, that's what we did. And then we brought water to the deserts of the Southwest, into Arizona and Nevada. I mean, these are the hottest places on earth. I mean, or the hottest places in the US for sure. And so just the US, because there's hotter places in the Middle East. But the hottest places, they said, was Arizona, which was what's it called? The P city in Arizona. I forgot the name. Anyway, so, and then, hey Google, what's the name of the hottest city in America? It's in Arizona, it starts with a P.
Phoenix is the hottest
Phoenix.
city in
See, that's why I didn't know, because
It's
it's
located in
Phoenix.
Arizona And as you noted, starts with the letter P.
Yeah, thank you, sweetie. So there it is, Phoenix. It sounds like it starts with an F, but yeah, that was the hottest city, and then the third hottest was Nevada, Las Vegas. Hey Google, what's the second hottest city in America? They say the third is Las Vegas, Nevada. And what was the second hottest?
Yuma, Arizona is
Yuma.
widely considered the second hottest city in the US
Yuma.
due to its high summer temperatures and intense sun.
So, yeah. So then, so to the desert, we brought all this water from the Colorado River. But they say it's going away and that we can't create water. And, we can have all these canals and dams and we built all this stuff. But now it's showing that our technologies are not going to necessarily save us. And so physics wins, and the physics of burning fossil fuels has created, global heating, and so we, losing our there's 60% of the country is in drought. And then the other thing I heard today was that New York City, which is 4.4 million people, which I'm from, New York City, is going to be underwater. That's what they said. And so, we had Sandy, and they're saying that New York is going to be underwater. New York City is going to be underwater. All right, so that's that. And what was the other thing something else I heard today besides the one thing I heard on the news about global warming was what was it? I forgot. But the second thing I heard was about Boston, and they said that Boston is going to be 50% fossil fuel free by 2030. And that's what the IPCC said that we're supposed to do. So Boston, Massachusetts, Mayor Wu was her name, and she's making that happen in terms of transportation and also buildings. So they're going, all electric, and that's what we need to do. So Boston is doing it, and it was like, and then they said carbon neutral or something, net zero by 2050. All right, so that was Boston, and it was like, and what did Cougar say? Well, does that really change anything? Hey Google, does it really make a difference that Boston is going to be 50% of fossil fuel reduction by 2030? I said that means that it will go viral and other cities will copy. What do you think, Google? Hey Google, when Boston's deciding to go 50% fossil fuel reduction by 2030 in their transportation and their buildings, doesn't that affect the communities?
Boston's target to reduce community-wide greenhouse gas emissions by 50% by 2030 was formalised in their new Climate Action Plan, released on April 27th, 2026.
All right. Hey Google, but how does that affect us? Can you say that, oh, well, one city, it doesn't matter. It's not going to change the trajectory of our global heating. But I say that it does help because other cities will copy them. What do you think, Google?
You're right. Cities like Boston create a, quote, a proof of concept. When a major city successfully scales green infrastructure, it lowers costs and risks for others.
Right. Well, that's what I said. Even though it might not affect our climate crisis, for one city, but it makes it healthier for that city, which is good. So, what do we have to lose? The air is cleaner. And so, that's a good thing. So who cares if it doesn't affect everybody and everybody, like it doesn't change the trajectory that we're on, even though it does, but, not enough. But, other, it's a proof of concept that can work, that it can work, is what they're showing us. Good. There was something else that I don't remember, but some other global. I always ask Google, hey, Google, tell me news about climate change. And so it doesn't. Anyway, so that was just, okay, what else? So that was the whole thing on Michael Snyder. And then this guy that was talking about regeneration and that he's hoping for regenerative gardening and regenerative lifestyles that we'd all live. And what does it mean to be regenerative? But it means, well, I think it means when all your needs are met hyper locally. And hey, Google, what does regenerative gardening and regenerative lifestyle mean? Maybe. Hey, Google, what does regenerative gardening and regenerative lifestyle mean?
Regenerative gardening focuses on restoring soil health and biodiversity, while a regenerative lifestyle aims to leave the environment better than you found it.
Oh, okay. Hey, well, that's good. That is good. So a regenerative lifestyle means fossil fuel free, that we're going to leave the environment better than we found it. So it has to be fossil fuel free, and that's village life. And so, that's what Cougar said too. Village life is regenerative. And so, and hyper local, and all our needs are met by ourselves and our neighbors. And, I say, and he says, well, it's, I was thinking about it today. It's like if I go to my neighbors and I tell them, okay, we all have to grow food so we could, survive. And, they're not going to listen to me, and I give them Cougar's book of It Was 100 Days. It was 100 days. An end of civilization novel. And we see that we're going towards an end of civilization. We don't even have to convince people too much. Anyway. And so, excuse me. But anyway, so, and then I said, well, what if everybody says no, they don't want to help, and they don't, they want to keep their job, and they don't want to they get dirty, and they don't want to work hard and labor and grow food, and messy and dirty and blah, blah, all the problems, blah, blah, but they're not problems. They say it's very good for our health to be working in the soil and touching the soil, and it's so nice to see flowers and to see, to have food that you grew yourself, and it's very rewarding. And they say it's actually the best. What was it? The best exercise or something? It was saying it was a very good exercise too. And so that was good. That you're lifting things and you're walking and you're trimming and you're, with nature. You're dealing with your nature deficit disorder by being in nature. Anyway, and so what did I say? So he was saying, so I was saying, oh, well, what if everybody says no? And, it's like if it's going to take a village, which it will, because we have 1/8 of an acre. And so, and our house is on it and our garage and our other buildings. And so, there's not a whole lot of land, but, whatever we have, we can, optimize it. But, it's going to take a village for us to survive. Because I can't live off of my land. I don't have enough food to support ourselves from from my property. Some people can do it and are better at it, and you have to keep working at it. But, it would be so much better if all the neighbors did it. And so, and what if, I'm saying, well, what if they don't want to do it, right? That means I die. Okay, so that's the truth. But then Cougar said, well, in 5 years, it's going to be so bad that people are going to start changing, and but then I say, oh, well, then it's too late. And then he says, well, then they'll die, and then we'll die. And so, what was he saying? Something about Boston. It was like, well, when Cougar was commenting on Boston, he said, well, those people might survive because they'll have all their electric infrastructure, and so that when the gas gets turned off or it's not available or it's so out of price, as we're seeing the trajectory now, then those people will survive. The Bostonites will survive because they figured out another way of doing things. And that's what he says about electricity. Like, if you need a car, which we don't need, but I have my electric bike, and we live in a walkable neighborhood. And if you don't need, if you don't have that, and you have to have a car to get to your job or whatever it is, I don't know what people need cars for, but if they feel like you need it, well, then you need an electric car. And I say you should just at least get an electric bicycle, because my electric trike fills all the needs I have for getting around and buying things and picking up things and shopping and groceries, and does everything. So anyway, and that would be better, but it's electric, so that's good. And our house is all electric. So, and we have solar. So those are the things that we all need if we're going, and that's what I guess Boston is going towards, is the buildings, making them all electric, and hopefully, getting solar panels and batteries. And then those people are more likely to survive. And so that's what we're talking about. And if that doesn't motivate you, I don't know what would. So anyway, what else? So basically, that was that. So what was I saying? Something about, I can't remember. Yeah. All right. So that was that. Spoke to my son and his girlfriend. That's always so wonderful to talk to them. Makes me so happy. And that's that they say is relationships are so important for your health. And we should live with each other, but at least it's something better that we talk to each other every day, and that feels good. So what was the thing we were talking about? Oh, well, Marshall's job, and his working on his website, and how he's doing blogs and working on the website. So that's good. And he's in the medical field. So and his girlfriend is also in the medical field with drug and alcohol abuse or whatever, those healthcare. They're both in the healthcare industry. So that's smart, and that's the industries that will survive AI. So we have to, I'm glad for them for that. And then I was working on trying to figure out a trust and putting our home in a trust. And I was realizing even that, like from my sister who died when she was 62, she owned a lot of property and things like that, but her husband had to work very hard as the executor of the will. And she had a will, but it took years to resolve her estate. And I'm sure it cost, they had lots of lawyers dealing with everything. And so, or whatever, definitely was lawyers involved. And they say it can cost $40,000. So it was like, okay. And then I was realizing, okay, so for our two kids, even to pass the home into them. But even when I was realizing with my sister that even though she was married to her husband, that he doesn't just get the land just because, when she dies, they have to put it in probate and figure out everything, all of her will and all that type of thing. So I realized, okay, same thing with Cougar and I, is that if one of us died, that there's more of a likelihood that one of us will die versus both of us dying and the kids getting it. So it was like, okay, so I had to speed up my process. And it was like, okay. And I was thinking about, and then my friend Lisa was saying, okay, I said, because she's like 58 and that she wanted to do it too. So we're going to figure it out together. So that'll be good. That'll be fun. But we have to do it. So that's good. Anyway, that was that little incident, part of my life. And what else? What else about climate change? Well, I was just saying to get to the lifeboat. We've hit the iceberg, get to the lifeboat. And that's just the truth, and that we have village life is the lifeboat, and that's the only way we're going to survive. So, and only those that work on it are going to survive. So, my one neighbor told me, I told you about them. They're Indian from India, and they are growing some vegetables and very nice. And so I was happy about that. And then, people, when they see my yard, they're just so happy. They say, "Oh, we just love your yard and makes us so happy when we go by. And I want a yard like this." And, so that's good, So I guess there's that, is that people learn, we learn from each other. So that's good. And then my other girlfriend, neighbor, she says, she's a technologist at Cisco, and she was saying that she wants to grow microgreens just to be around nature and do something that's not looking at a screen. So good for her. So that was that. And yeah, so that's good. So people are changing, and those are my neighbors. So that's good. And anyway, but tomorrow I need to go out, and I guess tomorrow, what was I going to do? Oh, then we were listening to another video about food security, and they were saying what things you should buy to have. And one of them was oil, and one of them was honey. And the other thing was dried, I would buy vegetable bouillons for flavor. You can make your own bouillons, I think. Hey Google, how do you make your own bouillon or something, or some kind of dry, like a dry vegetable powder for your, like a substitute that you can do yourself for bouillon substitute. I think you can dry it. Like, I don't know if you had a
You can easily make your own bouillon powder by dehydrating vegetable scraps or fresh veggies.
Okay.
Start by finely chopping or processing your vegetables, like onions, carrots, celery, leeks, and herbs, into small pieces or a thin paste. Spread them thinly on a parchment-lined baking sheet or dehydrator tray. Dry them at a low temperature, around 125 degrees Fahrenheit to 175 degrees Fahrenheit, for several hours until they are completely crisp and moisture-free. Once cooled, blend the dried vegetables into a fine powder, mixing in some salt and optional nutritional yeast for savory flavor. Store it in an airtight jar. Would you like the steps for preparing a specific set of vegetables for this?
Hey Google, yes, because I was wondering, how small do you cut the vegetables to if I put them in the dehydrator?
The smaller and more uniform you cut your vegetables, the faster and more evenly they will dry. Shredding them or chopping them into small confetti-like pieces works best for a quick, consistent dehydration process.
Oh, that's cool. So I could shred my vegetables, like carrots, onions. I guess I could shred onions, and my cabbages, my broccoli stems. What else would I put in? Celery. And then I would just lay it out on my dehydrator and dry it. And then after that, what do? I blend it. Hey Google, I would shred my vegetables, onion, celery, carrots, cabbage maybe, and peppers, and then put it on my dehydrator, and then grind it up as a powder. Is that what you suggest?
Yes, that's exactly right. Shredding those vegetables allows for even drying. Once they're crispy, blending them into a fine powder creates a wonderful, flavorful bouillon.
That sounds great. Right, so I could do that. And then she was telling me also about my ginger. Now, one of my gingers is sprouting, but she says cut it into 1.5-inch pieces, and where the eye would be, where it potentially would be, even though it's a rough spot, like in the ginger, you have like little fingers that come out. And so any of those fingers that you can cut into 1.5-inch pieces, and then let it dry so that it would crust over, or there's a word for it. Anyway, you crust it over by letting it dry like 2 or 3 days, and then the cut that you made, and then you can soak it in water overnight to bring it to life, and then put it in potting soil, a rich potting soil, which I told you what I was making with my compost, my vermiculite, my perlite, and my coir and my mushroom compost. And then I wanted to tell you one last thing before I finish. It was like, okay, another thing about my compost. I told you my hot compost, which is where I just have these large containers that are like, I don't know, 3 feet square. And I put my food waste that I don't give to my worms. And then I cover it with leaves. And so that's the brown. And also I get a lot of, Cougar makes a lot of, we plane our redwoods. We buy old redwood fence boards and then we plane them and stain them redwood or stain. And then we use that as our siding and in our interior of our house as well too, as we're putting wood everywhere. We love wood. And so anyway, and then and reusing it feels good. So we take old fence boards and reuse them by planing them. So anyway, when he planes them, we get a lot of sawdust. So I put the sawdust and also the dried leaves that I shred, and that is my compost. But I was going to tell you another part of my secret is that you use urine. So we have this outdoor little toilet, and so we collect our urine. And the urine, so then I put the urine on the compost pile, and I add lots of water to it to thin it out. And that urine is, so even when they talk about it's uric acid that they talk about in terms of the nitrogen fertilizers that we're getting from the Middle East, and we can make our own. So there. And so the thing is that the urine, they said, actually helps break down the carbon, which is the dry leaves, are the brown, they call that the brown material, and it helps it break down a lot faster. And I see it, like my compost, it just, I mean, you do have to turn it and you have to keep it moist, the compost, but it's turning more into a nice crumbly mix of all broken down material, like all the, yeah. Hey, Google, how does the urine that you add with water to your compost pile break down the carbon in the compost pile quicker?
Urine is rich in nitrogen, which acts as a green material. Since compost needs a balanced carbon to nitrogen ratio, adding nitrogen helps fuel the microbes that consume and break down carbon-heavy brown materials like leaves, cardboard, and straw. This effectively accelerates the decomposition process.
Microbes. Hey, Google, repeat.
Urine is rich in nitrogen, which acts as a green material. Since compost needs a balanced carbon to nitrogen ratio, adding nitrogen helps fuel the microbes that consume and break down carbon-heavy brown materials like leaves, cardboard, and straw.
The leaves.
This effectively accelerates the decomposition process.
Yeah, so that's the trick we told you. All right, everybody, I'm gonna go to bed. All right, I'm just gonna lift my leg up one more time and say goodnight. And I wanted to say something nice. My husband was so sweet. He told me, and he didn't have to tell me, but he did. That was very thoughtful of him. And he said that there was somebody, he was on I told you guys that he loves listening to Finding Gnosis, right? And he, participates and texts and talks, and he does a good job. But of course, I'm saying, no, get to work. But I say, okay, so but he, like my daughter says, no, Dad's got a friend, because he's got friends that, anyway, all the Gnosis people like him. And so I'm glad. And he always talks about our climate crisis. So that's great. So anyway, he said that somebody was talking and they said, we were listening to your co-host, and they called me his co-host, but I am his wife, but I guess I'm the co-host. And so that's what he called him. And Cougar had to think about it. Who's this co-host? He said, oh, it must be my wife. And then he said that they enjoyed listening to me, and that was very sweet of him. So I'm glad you do. So that made me feel good. And that keeping me company while I'm doing my exercise. Thank you so much. And we love you. All right. So that was it. So good night. And I hope you learned something. All right, sweetheart. We love you. You take care. Good night. Sweethearts out there in the around the world. Okay, you take care. Bye.